Live people, deluded. I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time. Apologies, sorry for being 3 minutes late. Literally, people, I wish I could flip the screen. You're actually seeing everything in my household turn back on. Literally, the power cut out. Literally, and I must admit, in relation to my content, that's one thing that gives me anxiety when things you plan for things like that happen and there's nothing I could do. So I apologize for that, and apologies, people. I hope you're doing well and safe, whether you support Arsenal or whatever. And obviously you're here because you just saw Arsenal versus Manchester United draw 0-0. Now, I must admit, my thoughts haven't fully sunk in, people, but I admit when the dust settles, I think a point is a decent result. There was obviously times we could have won the game, times they could have not won the game, but at the end of the day, it's a point. It's a point. We've taken 4 points off them. They're second. They're top six rivals. I would have taken a point before the game. A point. We live to fight another day, and we can move forward towards planning for Wolves now, and obviously planning for. I think it's Wolves and Leeds next week. I could be wrong. Now I'm positive because again we avoided defeat, and although we might not have won, and we're gonna obviously dissect the game and we can cherry pick stuff. At the end of the day, the last time we entered a tough run of fixtures, we bottled it. At least now I'm seeing you play twice against Southampton. You messed up the first time. You went and won against Southampton. You've carried that on and got a result against United. It sets us up a platform. And obviously, the more you avoid defeat, the more clean sheets you get, the more individual performances there are. Obviously, I think David Luiz and Rob Holding in particular, as well as Smith Rowe and Pepe, need to be held up today. Cedric was good, but it helps the togetherness. You get a winning spirit. I saw a bit of grit and determination. And also, again, I was very nervous against United anyways going into the game, people. But I was definitely more nervous when, we knew Tierney probably wasn't going to play, but we had a bit of hope. We probably all were mentally prepared for Aubameyang to play no part. I'm sure the sore hip or the hip injury Saka has and came to light today, I'm sure it made a lot of people feel nervous. So considering we missed all of them, to still get a clean sheet, to still get something out of the game, we can move with it, people. It is what it is in that regards. Like I said, crucially, I think there was elements we could have done better, point elements they could have done better, and so on and so forth. People, please make sure you're hitting the like button. My favorite part, people, in fact, before that, Raz has spoken. He said, drop a like if you're joining up. So again, hit the like button on your way in. We're going to talk about player performances and all of those sort of things, people. But in relation to my thoughts, I know some of you know the bulk of my thoughts because you was following you was following obviously the live stream and things like that. What have we got here? Junior Gunner said, I believe that's one of the worst performances from an Arsenal player since Mustafi against Crystal Palace. I think he said, no, I don't think it's quite that. He had an underwhelming game, but I think you're looking at it with a lot of emotion. But I can't take it from you. You're allowed to think what you think. But in relations to that, we're going to leave that for the player ratings. In terms of my thoughts in the game, people, going into the game, it was firmly a case of bragging rights. You don't know, the Twitter timeline gets shut down. I'm sure you've got a lot of friends that are that thing, you're United fans and whatnot. So there's bragging rights. For us, obviously, we need to keep winning if we're going to be in the top four. We need to beat tough teams. For United, they're trying to go for the league title. Their fans might change their opinions now, but they're going for the league title allegedly. So again, they saw Manchester City get 3 points off Sheffield United. Forgive me if I'm wrong, because I only watched the first half of that game. I'll watch it later, but I'm pretty sure City won. So they know what they needed to do. We know what we needed to do. Obviously, there's not much in it in terms of points. So personally, today I saw Everton lose. I know Chelsea and Spurs are playing after us, so I thought it was a good marker to go down. And too many times we've gone into games knowing where we're going to stand after it and done poorly. And again, we did have injuries, and I sympathize with the team if they didn't get a result. But at the end of the day, injuries are part and parcel of the game. We're going to be without players. We need to make it happen. So we just need to play. So it was a decent result. Like I said, there was plenty of reasons for both teams to turn up. I personally felt, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, since he's been at United, he ain't really had too many good results against Arsenal. And this team obviously lost to us at their place. Obviously, this team lost at home last year against us. Obviously, they lost their last game against Sheffield United. So you was wary of the fight back. We know they've got a dangerous counter-attack, and you did see elements of that, really and truly. Moving on, in the first 10 minutes, I think it opened up really after 5. I think Rashford, he actually he had a poor game, but he looked initially like he was making good runs and being found. I felt they started stronger. They had more of the ball initially and they kind of set it. We were kind of chasing. I did feel for large parts initially in that first half, we were a bit lethargic. We was a bit timid. There was a lot of gaps and I was starting to feel like maybe we couldn't maybe that Southampton game took more out of us than I actually thought. We was lacking that sort of zip. I don't feel we was pressing well enough today. You know, Partey had a poor game today and he struggled. He gave away balls cheaply. Not just him though. We was giving balls away cheaply. I felt generally in the last final third we was lacking, and you could see that with initially David Luiz having a shot from stupid range. Lacazette had a tame effort where he could have picked someone out. He shot straight at De Gea, and I'm pretty sure Lacazette, David Luiz, Partey, if I haven't also had one. But generally, I think we was giving the ball away cheaply at times, and I think there was gaps open up against us. I feel going into the game, clearly they looked at it tactically and they changed things very quickly. You know, Pogba was off that left when Scott McTominay got in. Pogba had a decent game, and I think Shaw, early on, you saw primarily Luke Shaw was down that left-hand side, and I think he saw a lot of possession, so Bellerin had a lot to do. But in that regards, I feel their centre halves had too much to do. Now, looking at their game, you know there's no Aubameyang. You know Lacazette can present you issues, and he showed it several times in this game. Obviously, hitting the crossbar and working well. But this told me that United wanted to get 3 points, and it was even reflected in their sub for Greenwood. They wanted 3 points. They wanted something to do in this game. And I feel when they're playing a high line with Maguire and we've got quick players, but that told me, you know, Maguire and Lindelof, they backed themselves in a foot race. I saw them centre halves. If Aubameyang was there, I don't think Wan-Bissaka gets as high consistently as he was in the game. Maybe Shaw to a degree as well because of the front three. I saw their fullbacks high and wide. I saw their centre halves pulled apart and quite high. I think both teams showed elements of that, but this told me they backed themselves. And maybe if there's an Aubameyang or there's a Tierney, we do something. I think Smith Rowe looks good. I think Smith Rowe and Pepe look good on the counter attack and look to be the players that were going to make something happen. United had a number of chances to score, and you know Rashford absolutely sold Xhaka. You know there was numerous aspects. You know Fred probably had the best chance within the first 20 minutes. There was a chance where Rashford sold Xhaka. Like I said, better chances would probably be a number that fell to Cavani in the second half, but still. 20 minutes. I think our best passage personally in the second half was from minute 30 to 40. But 20 minutes into the game, my thinking is we're being, like I said earlier, we're being second best. I don't feel we're pressing together. I feel there's a lot of gaps. And it felt like a matter of time before United score. If you keep allowing this amount of corners and all of these things, there was a bit more, what was I say, last-ditch reactionary sort of defending more than I would have hoped. You know, Holding and David Luiz, I can't rate them enough, obviously, for a number of headers and blocks and the rest of it. And to be fair, there was a couple of times Bellerin did a couple of those, obviously Cedric as well. I did feel the ref had a bit of a mare. I'm not going to focus on the ref. I don't like to focus on the ref, but the ref had a poor game, I think, for both sides personally. Like I said, that was probably their best effort, you know, where Leno had to deny Fred. Fred probably could have done a bit better, but fundamentally, I wanted to see a bit more energy. You know, we looked a bit timid once again. Final third, we're lacking. You know, Smith Rowe and Pepe are there in patches, but generally, collectively as a team, we're lacking in the final third. And I think the decision making is poor. You know, it's either under hit or we're just not doing good enough. And I think these three in particular, all trying to score bangers, and Rashford was as well, people. Like I said, from around minute 27, minute 30 to 40, I think that's when we really upped it. We started to exploit. Then we started to have a bit more possession for ourselves. You know, Cedric did well throughout, but I think we had more of a meal at things, people. Still a lot of last-ditch defending and stuff. But generally, I felt minute 30 to minute 40, we woke up, people, if that makes sense, in that regards. Going into half-time, like I said, my thoughts are it took us a while to grow into the game, but we was eventually there. You know, a lot of heart in mouth and last-ditch tackles. I don't feel we've tested De Gea enough, really and truly, with you lot, people. I think Smith Rowe has been decent, and so has Pepe in particular on the counter. I want to see a bit more from our midfielders. I think Partey struggled today, and I think Xhaka did all right with a lot of his tackling, but his passing was kind of so-so. You know, considering the context of the game, I think we did well to get a point. You know, I'm not going to lie. You know, like I always say, people are going to get injured. You know, again, we need to develop and sign players because we shouldn't be saying, oh, as good as Saka, Tini, Aubameyang, all of these guys are. Like I said, 38 Premier League games and all the cup games alone, you know you're punching if you're not going to go through injuries and stuff. You need to be able to get through it. So it was down to our players. And again, I do think we would have had a lot more going forward if these players stayed. But at the same time, it doesn't really count. I think we need a bit more from the pivot men. You know, I felt a bit confident that we could get something out of the game, but I also felt scared because I'm pretty sure United fans must have felt it as well. And that you feel you could score, you also feel you could concede today. So it all depends. We grew into the couple last opening stages, but like I said, we was a bit timid, we was a bit lethargic. Ultimately, there was a lot of gaps. I was starting to think, you know, if you eventually give people chances, eventually they're going to score. Like Rashford probably should have scored in that first half. He took too long on the ball, he chopped someone, and then he started moving mad. Personally, it's the best first half I've seen from Man United at the Emirates in a while, personally. As I already said, our final third play was either non-existent or not good enough beyond just occasional patches. For me as well, tactically, I'm thinking United are getting a bit overconfident as well because their fullbacks, you know, apologies, the fullbacks for United were very high and wide, like you saw with Wan-Bissaka and Shaw. The centre-halves, like I said, you know, were very high. And I was thinking, can we exploit them on the counter like we did against Chelsea? Obviously, their left-hand side, Pogba was quite vital over there. And Pogba looked decent when he went centrally. I think we defended very well, as did both teams. Second half, I think, you know, I saw a lot more of what I wanted to see. I saw obviously, I don't think Williams should have come on, but he should have scored. Pepe played him into Maguire, and obviously Pepe returned the favour. I feel when you look at Willian had a chance early on when he came on, Pepe had a chance when he came on, Lacazette hit the post, you know, Smith Rowe forced to save from De Gea, maybe he should have gone better. 81st minute, as said there, Pepe hit just wide. I think both teams throughout the game had a chance to nick the game, and I think in the first half, if you're a United fan, you probably think that was where you should have put the game to bed. In the second half, I think maybe we could have probably scored a couple of goals. So, it's 2 points dropped, a point gain, depending on where you look at it. But when I think it's all said and done, I think both sets of fans and whatever can be content with a point. Maybe Man United will look at it differently because it's an understrength Arsenal team and things like that. I don't know. But I think we had the better of chances. And I think in the opening first 10 minutes or so, we had 83% possession. So we did quite well. I think we defended very well today in units. Going into a big game, there's obviously going to be chances where you're going to have last-ditch tackles. So I think we did well. We did well ultimately, considering there was no key players, and we look a different team. There were chances to win, considering we're missing players. Ultimately, a good game, and we live to fight another day, people, really and truly. It would have been nice to win, but you can't have it all the time. And for me, crucially, we live to fight another day. So it is what it is in that regards, people. Firmly, that's my thoughts in relation to United. I thought the subs were cool. I don't know at this time why Martinelli was off. Again, I have to watch the game with no commentary, so I'm not too sure, but it is what it is in that regards. I'll take a point. We live to fight another day. We did what we needed to do.